I'm Joe from NeuralNet. In this video, I'm going to go over a basic setup for LiveToAir so you can quickly begin using it. For this demo, I'm going to be using LiveToAir 12, although the setup will be identical for LiveToAir 6. As you can see, this is the state LiveToAir will be in when you first open it. To start with, I'm going to go up to the top left and click on the Settings button. I'll make this full screen so it's easier to see. Two things to note. First, synchronized settings is on. This means that if I change the settings for one channel, it will change for all other channels as well, as long as it's applicable. Second, show advanced settings is off. If you'd like to see the advanced settings, we'll have another video with an in-depth explanation of all the settings in LiveToAir. Now, this first tab is the Account tab. This is where you will type in both your LiveToAir and Call-in Manager credentials. So I'll go ahead and type those in. And now I'll make sure to press Save before I press Login. Anytime you change your credentials, you have to press Save or it will not log in. The next tab over is the Operator tab. This is where the media devices for the LiveToAir operator are selected. The microphone will be what the operator uses to speak to the guest whenever push-to-talk is pressed. The webcam is what the guest will see whenever push-to-talk is pressed while the guest is in the off-air state. The speakers are what the LiveToAir operator will use to listen to both the guests and the return audio feed back to the guests. The webcam can be any NDI, SDI, or webcam source connected to the computer. For this, we'll select a webcam source. The speakers can be any SDI, WDM, or ASIO source. For this, I'm going to pick my headphones. The microphone can be any NDI, SDI, WDM, or ASIO source. For this, I'm going to pick my webcam's microphone. After making any changes in LiveToAir, make sure you press Save and Apply in order for them to take effect. The next tab over is the Video tab. From here, you will set up the output video from LiveToAir to the studio and the return video back to the guests. The first column is where you will toggle on or off the NDI video output from LiveToAir. If you are not using NDI, I recommend toggling this off to save on processing power. Next to this is where you control the resolution of that output. For now, we'll leave it at 720. The next two columns are the off-air and on-air video returns. When a guest first joins, they are in the off-air state, meaning their video and audio are not being output from LiveToAir, and you can speak to them and prep them for the production. Once they're in the on-air state, their video and audio are now being output to the studio, and they are part of the show. The video returns are what the guests will see when they are in each of those states, respectively. Each of the video returns can take either a webcam, NDI, or SDI feed. For now, I'm going to select a separate NDI feed for each of them, although they can be the same. Next to where you can select the return source, you can select the return resolution. Unless you have very small text that you need the guest to read, it generally can be at a lower resolution as it's just a reference video for the guest. Keeping it at a lower resolution reduces the processing and bandwidth requirements. The next two columns may seem like an advanced feature, but it's actually a very critical one. You will be selecting the devices used to encode and decode the video going to and from the guest. If you select software, the processing will be done on the CPU. If you select another option, the processing will be done on the selected GPU. We recommend selecting a GPU for your encoding device and software for your decoding device. Encoding is much more processor intensive than decoding. Your CPU can generally only encode 3 or 4 video streams at once, whereas your GPU should be able to handle much more than that. Your CPU should have no problem handling all the decoding though, and the software decoder is much more tolerant of faults. Like before, I'm going to press Save and Apply. In the next tab is where we will set up all the audio going in and out of LiveToAir. In the first column is where you can turn on and off the audio output over NDI from LiveToAir. Just like with the video, you can turn it off if you don't intend to use NDI. In the next column is where you can turn on and off the ability for the LiveToAir operator to hear the off-air audio return to the guests. Normally you want this on so that you can hear everything the guests are hearing when they're in the off-air state. However, if your microphone is set as the off-air audio return, then you will hear an echo of yourself when they're in the off-air state. So you may want to shut it off so you don't hear that echo. In the next two columns, you will select the off-air and on-air audio returns for the guests. Both returns can accept NDI, SDI, WDM, or ASIO sources. LiveToAir gives you the ability to decide which guests hear which other guests using mix-minus groups. However, that is a more advanced feature covered in another video. For now, all the guests will be in a single mix-minus group, meaning every guest can hear every other guest that is in the same state as them. So for off-air, the guests will all hear both the off-air audio return and every other guest in the off-air state. The same is true for on-air. However, there is one important thing to note. Because in the on-air state, the guest audio is being output from LiveToAir and is likely part of your show, you need to make sure that the on-air audio return does not contain any audio from the guest, or else the guests will hear an echo of themselves. This can be very distracting. So for now, we're going to pick two Dante virtual sound card sources as the returns. Once again, I will hit Save and Apply. That is it for the basic device settings for LiveToAir. Now we'll move on to creating a show that your guests can join. So I'll close the settings menu. Now I'll go up to the Show Management button in the top left, and I'll expand this window so it's full screen again to make it easier to see. Creating a show is fairly simple. I just type in the name of the show I'd like and press Create Show. Now you need to select the link that you'd like to send to your guests. There are three options: callin.studio, global.callin.studio, and beta.callin.studio. The beta link contains new features we've added, but they have not been fully tested yet, so use at your own risk. The global link only asks for the guest name and any comments they might have. And callin.studio asks for more information, such as email, phone number, location, etc. If you only need the guest's name, we recommend selecting the global link. Now go over and press Copy, and you can send the link to the guest however you'd like, whether that's email, text message, or you can post it publicly for a call-in show. LiveToAir is now all set up, and you can begin bringing guests into your shows. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at support@neural.com, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you, and good luck with your productions.